GRIDLIFE Summer Apex at Road America, America's National Park of Speed in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. The last handful of sessions of the day of the weekend. Kyle Heyer joined by Tom O'Gorman. It is now time for the GRIDLIFE Track Battle Time Attack Podium Sprint, the final session of the weekend for our Time Attack series, in which we take the top 5 cars from each of our respective classes from all 7 heats prior, and we run them for 3 laps. It's winner take all in this session, Tom.
Yeah, the last few sessions, but the most exciting ones for all of the series still yet to come. We build up here at GRIDLIFE and the things end on a bang. We are green flag for the first of many cycles in this track battle podium sprint. Kyle, how does podium sprint work?
So podium sprint, 3 laps for each of the classes, and it's whoever is the fastest in this session wins. All your previous times are wiped. You get to keep your records, you get to keep all that. If you're 6th on down in the order in your class, you keep your time, but you don't participate in this session. This is only for the top 5 in your class, and you get 3 opportunities to go quick. Tom, if you put 4 tires in the dirt, all of your times are deleted and it's over. You have to be perfect in this session. You have to be better than everyone else at the same exact time.
Winner take all, fastest lap counts, but you have to stay precise. We have 4 or maybe 5 of our first contenders. This is Falcon Club SC, developed out of Spec Fit into Sunday Cup and now Falcon Club SC. And yes, indeed, we do have all 5 of our challengers on track. The fastest car over 7 qualifying sessions was the 156 EG Civic of Mike Jansen. He will lead the field to that green flag, working their way down towards turn 5 now at this point on the first of 3 flying laps. Jim Smith in the number 130 Honda Fit is now second after all those qualifying sessions, just separated by 0.6 of a second, so that's under a second for the top 2. Jack Coughlin in the Mini Coupe was just a little bit back of that in the number 377. Jason Davidson in the silver and orange Honda Fit in the number 122 was 4th in qualifying, but we have a 5th contender who's finally made it to the track, Sam Dooling, who has taken some very quick laps and I believe won victory this year at previous events, is coming in cold, but is in the top 5 per being entered. That is the final silver Honda Fit that you'll see enter on track. This is the quick car to beat, though.
It is. It's now the record-holding car in front-wheel drive as well. You'll see top of the screen there, Mike Jansen. Again, I don't think we're going to see records fall in this session. This doesn't even matter now. It's just a comparison between you and the other 4 qualifiers in your class. So Jansen has been the fastest car all weekend. He's now the fastest car in Club SC Series history at Road America, but he has to do it now if he wants to win the weekend. Jim Smith, very, very competitive in that Acuity Honda Fit right behind him. You mentioned Coughlin, Davidson, and Dooling. Sam Dooling coming in cold, though, as you said, Tom. I would have liked to have had a couple more laps before attempting this, but he's really fast and should be able to adapt pretty well.
Well, it's only Road America.
No big deal.
Big old track to get yourself warmed up on in 3 laps. Jansen coming through turn number 13. Watch how little track this car needs to use, cutting distance in some aspects, minimizing wheel turns in others throughout this lap at a 25-to-1 power to weight ratio. That means maybe 100 horsepower around that, just over in some cases, in these 26 to 2,800 pound cars. Jansen will be the first car through, and I agree. I don't expect to go faster than we did in competition, in the straightforward competition, what we call the qualifying rounds, but it doesn't matter at this point. You're heads up battling, and they all are pretty spread out as well, so we'll get to follow Jansen around for just a little bit. He struggled coming into turn 1 on the previous session, really trying to throw the car down in there, braking as late as possible, well past that access road, kicks up a little bit of dust. Does he lock the tire this time? No. Rolls it nicely in there, no drama on the steering wheel, and doesn't waste a lot of extra distance on the track, which you have to keep in mind in these cars. Those curbs, not only will they rattle the suspension and all that, but they can prevent forward acceleration if you use them too aggressively. Jansen avoiding him.
Yeah, look at the graphic bottom of the screen across the stripe. Only 0.121 seconds between the front 2 here, and that's the first lap of 3. This is the second lap now here, Tom. So you've got something to chase if you're Jim Smith. Again, you don't know what the other competitors are doing. That's the other thing. You can't even necessarily see them all that well. They're so far off in the distance. Jason Davidson jumps to 3rd place, upsetting the seating order for the time being, and Sam Dooling comes across, and first lap of 2:59, 393. He'll need to find more time, but he'll get up to speed quickly. Jansen locks up into turn 5.
And he's been struggling with that. I have to wonder if he's running just a little bit too aggressive of a brake setup in that car. It's always been just the inside front as he's trying to challenge those entries and trail off the brakes. Very little brake light coming into turn 6. That's just a maybe 5 to 6 mile an hour speed adjustment, then flat out. But this ragged lap from Jansen is looking a little bit tough for the Civic. There now coming into frame through turn 6 is Jim Smith. Again, only 1 .121 separating those two, a tenth across 4 miles for these two, challenging each other. And I would say Jansen is struggling on the second lap. Let's take a look and see how Jim Smith is doing as he comes down through turn 8 into the carousel in the fit.
Yeah, again, we're going to keep our eyes on the 130 car now, trailing Mike Jansen. We saw Jansen with a big moment into 5. It's still possible he could go quick, but again,
yeah, sure.
I don't know that he's going to recover all that well after that big slip up there. So we'll see if Jim Smith can pick up. He's also jumped over into Ibach GLTC at times with a Honda S2000. And he's performed very well there, but hopping back in the Honda Fit for competition here this weekend, really likes holding the throttle to the firewall, I'd have to imagine.
Yeah, full throttle since the exit of turn 8, probably since before the apex of turn 8, actually, not needing to use any bit of the curb through the kink. And I do have to say, Sam Dooling starting the lap at a 2:59, under 3 minutes, first out of the gate is pretty impressive. Also, just the raw pace so far, Jansen and Smith are within a second of their fastest laps. We didn't think they'd go much faster than this morning, than their previous bests, but they're actually way closer than we expected.
So coming up the hill out of Billy Mitchell Bend here, Jansen again with that big moment into 5. It's possible he could improve. Look for the green on the timing and scoring if he picks up. All the while, Jim Smith trying to carry this Honda Fit up the hill, fighting a little bit of an uphill battle with just the drag on this car, a little bit taller and maybe less wide, but a lot more higher up in the air. And the Pacific has a lower center of gravity. This will be Jansen's final lap next time by. No pickup. Oh, it is a pickup, a 254, 241. But can Jim Smith pick up more? Here he comes up the hill and across the line. He'll need 0.4 of a second to go P1 in class across the stripe, and he will not improve a 254.6 time.
Wow, so what's left on the table for Jansen if he can clean up those little mistakes, and little mistakes compound into big time loss here in Club SC. Jim Smith down into turn number 1, rolling the fit, big pivot, a little bit of toe out in the back of that car, probably a bunch of air pressure, so just pivots straight into the corner, and then through comes Coughlin to go a little bit quicker, not fast enough to put himself up into the top 2, but he will jump back over Davidson.
And Davidson across the stripe now. There's Coughlin on your screen. Davidson no pickup. The big question mark now is Sam Dooling. And this big curb jump there for Coughlin through turn 1.
Yeah, totally different approach than the other two. You saw barely any curb used from the top 2.
Dooling picks up and only to a 259. He's only got one more opportunity to go fast here, Tom. And looks like, is that a fist? Oh, it is a fist out the window. Jim Smith calling it early.
Wow, okay, so that means that we will have no challenge from Jim Smith on Mike Jansen. Watching Davidson now grab dirt on the inside of turn number 3 with the orange and silver Honda Fit working his way towards turn 4 under the Sargento Bridge. Needs to find a little bit more to give himself some comfort. Sam Dooling is going to build speed, although I'm surprised that Dooling didn't drop more time. Dropped less than a second between his first and second laps, which is typically when you're building speed and learning the track on your very first session, you're going to pick up a bit more time than that. There's a look at Dooling through the haze down into the braking zone of turn number 4. They're going to brake probably just inside the 3 board, clearing at about 105 to 110 miles an hour. Fit dives forward there on the brakes. Dances just a little bit, rotating nicely. This is a first generation Honda Fit. You'll notice 2 different generations here. We actually have 3rd gen Fits compete as well, using every bit of the RPM, grabbing 3rd, back up the hill, checking the brake lights. Not lights, checking the brake pads.
Brake lights too.
Yeah. Here comes Dooling through 6.
It's like when going into the quick change oil. They check your lights and your blinkers and everything, make sure it's all good. But this is the wild card here. Is Sam Dooling? Jack Coughlin's time deleted. And maybe did he have an off potentially? Again, I don't think that they were going to enforce anything in 1, and he was still touching curb, but it could have been somewhere else. Sam Dooling, big slide. He needs to find time here, Tom, and he's going to use every inch of the rumble strips here. But Sam Dooling, the wild card in this podium sprint, because we don't know. We don't have a seed time for him, but we know he's capable of winning in this category, or at least getting up onto the podium.
Yeah, that was a big slide, and the question is, you're correct. We were told for the wheel-to-wheel races, there's no enforcement of track limits. If it's paved, you can use it. We did not necessarily get clarification, and maybe we need to, for the podium sprint here, on whether they can use that runoff, because again, we're seeing the time deleted for Coughlin, and potentially that would mean that Sam Dooling also just went 4 off into a very similar section of track. We're only seeing what we see on TV. You might have caught it trackside for a different off, but again, Dooling really slinging the car around down into turn 8. He's overall been looking pretty good everywhere else on this lap. Jansen improves once again, picks up another 0.3 to a 253.9, comes under the checkered flag moments ago. Smith giving up on that 3rd lap, choosing not to complete it. waiting for the other two cars to come through. Before we see this car complete its lap, you hear the car just struggling to get up the hill. Very, very little power in these cars. You just gotta wait and watch the predictive timer adjust. Coughlin gets another lap on the board, 2:57.2.
Yep, and coming up over the crest, here comes Dueling. This is the car that I was thinking would be the wild card here. Let's see, Davidson, no pickup here. And the 370 will be the last car in Club SC. Can he jump up onto Podium? Only 3 laps recorded this weekend, all 3 in this session. And Dueling picks up to only a 2:58.2. Tom, it's not enough, P5.
Not quite enough, but it's still fun. You got your 3 laps in and did a nice job. Jansen is going to take the win in Podium Sprint for Falcon Club SC.
There you go. Club TR will be next in just a few minutes time here. We're going to have cars actually probably on track at the moment, but again, for drivers in Club SC, Mike Jansen, again, comes in as the top seed. I don't think we really expected anyone to take the fight to him, but Jim Smith got close. And then I think, again, Coughlin time deleted, so that definitely seems like they didn't like how far he went somewhere off course. Still getting clarification on the positioning of where any track limits might be. And let's have a look here at our results for Falcon Club SC. And it's Mike Jansen, Jim Smith, Jason Davidson, Sam Dueling, and Jack Coughlin that are going to finish out this race weekend here at Road America, round 5 and 9 of the 2025 championship. Mike Jansen will extend his lead on the rest of the field with a 2:53.987 in Podium Sprint time. So looks like Dueling will head on in, and next up is going to be Falcon Club TR. This one's going to be a dogfight between Mario Moroni, Peter Granberg in particular, and then Stan Feingold, Jeremy Bailey, and Jake Rawson all making performance. I think this is Jake Rawson's first Podium Sprint appearance as well.
Very nice. Yeah, we'll start in the 5th seed after 7 rounds of qualifying in the BMW there, back a shot, working his way towards the end of pit lane. But the first car out is your top qualifier at a 2:29.6, new track record for the class, including for the front-wheel drive subclass. Mario Moroni did not complete nearly the number of laps as the rest of these cars on the track, but maybe it won't matter. He has a 3.5 tenths advantage coming out of qualifying over Peter Granberg in the white and blue pink Access K-Power car. That's the number 511. He runs right at a 2:30.000. Stan Feingold was the big mover this morning. He's within a 1.5 seconds of Granberg, but that's a pretty big gap there in Club TR. He's in a white FRS with red wheels. Jeremy Bailey, blue and mostly pink with some black accents, 1/10 back from Feingold. So those two very much on top of each other. And then about 0.8 of a second back in qualifying rounds was Jake Rawson in that BMW. So we have 3 different chassis on track, 4 different engine choices. Actually 3, I guess there's a K in the Civic as well. And again, this is a spec tire class for Falcon, the RT660 Plus. It's a minimum weight class, but no upper limit on power. Very much out of what we started calling the track rat cars. So that's where the Club TR comes from. And it's basically what you would want to do to your car if you want to take it to the track and enjoy it all the time. We're allowing a little bit of aero, some suspension mods, some braking mods, some engine swaps, but in general trying to keep everything in line for things to be in good parity. Taking a look at Peter Granberg sweeping through the kink for the first time, likely flat out in these cars, or if not barely just a lift. Mario Moroni up the road is going to be taking the green flag to kick off 3 laps in the Podium Sprint in just a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds actually.
Yeah, pretty shortly here, coming up over the crest at Billy Mitchell Bend here. 3 laps in these cars. We've seen these drivers basically do 2 or 3 laps at a time easily, and sometimes they found pace pretty deep in the run. And getting clarification on Jack Coughlin, it was a call for 4 off. So again, it might not considered a track limit, but 4 off. So must have been the grass somewhere. But across the start-finish line, Mario Moroni is going to be the first driver to take the green flag, and up past the start-finish, he'll begin his 4-mile trek of Road America. Peter Granberg second across the stripe here. And we'll see where they stack up in about 2.5 minutes.
On throttle nice and early, pulling the front end through, almost pulling the front end around a little too much actually through turn 1 on this first lap for Mario Moroni. Saw the little wiggle and adjustment on the steering wheel towards the exit of that corner, rotating it down into turn 3, hoping that that downhill into the level and up catches the nose and puts it back on throttle, pulling the nose through the corner, unlike the car just behind Granberg, pushing the rear end around to keep that car rotating and not overstepping it. There's Jeremy Bailey, mostly blue. Looks looking towards turn number 1. Will dive on the brakes just past the access road, rolls it in a little bit shallow, not quite utilizing every bit, and a little bit of throttle play through the first corner as well as he builds up to confidence. Here's Maroney through turn 5, looking very, very smooth. This is going to be a tricky corner. First time the right side rear gets loaded. Try not to over-rotate it. Back on throttle early. Pulls the car all the way out. A nice, clean, straight exit. You're going to see this car focus on making straight line speed off the corners. Straight line acceleration. Better way to think of it. Look at Granberg rounding the thing out just a little bit more, trying to maintain that radius with the rear-wheel drive car.
Yeah, this has been the tough stuff for Mario Maroney this year, is these really hard braking zones into these left flicks. But he does a nice job there. And again, top seed, working his way through the carousel here. And again, front drive versus rear drive. They've both broken records so far this weekend, but they're going for the trophy now, Tom.
Look at him playing with the steering wheel. Fine adjustments, but not lifting. Keeping the car rolling. No brake lights into the kink? No. Absolutely committed. As he rolls it out to the inside curb. I'm guessing he lifted just a little bit as he didn't need all the track on exit there. Maybe not. Granberg comes flying through, definitely flat out. These cars looking pretty confident with a little bit of aero work allowed onto them. Front splitter, rear wing, etc., etc. Maroney, record time at 2:29.6. Fastest time set today was a 2:30.2, I believe, earlier, or 2:30.4, one of the two. So if he can go sub 2:29, sub 2:30 today, that's going to be a really dominant lap for this podium sprint. Again, winner take all over these next 3 laps, completing lap number 1.
Coming up over the crest here, Mario Maroney going to set the benchmark for everyone else. And the next car across will be about 10 seconds behind. Here comes Maroney across the line. Lap 1 in podium sprint for Falcon Club TR, 2:32.005. I think it's going to take more than that to win. Here comes Granberg now across the stripe, and it's going to be faster, 2:31.227. That's a pretty good bit quicker, 0.8 faster.
Got rear heat in the tires now for Maroney. He's going to have to dig deep, and again, he didn't run that many laps. Granberg also rolling the car down in a big understeer moment. You heard the tire chattering and barely keeps it on the track, and wrestles it back just before that grass. There's a huge jump after that if you don't make it, but Granberg currently at the top spot. Feingold came through a moment ago at a 2:32.1. He set a fast lap of a 2:31.4 earlier today. He's got it in it. Jeremy Bailey comes through at a 2:33.8, sits about a second back, and a half back, excuse me, of Feingold. Here comes Rawson in the BMW, bringing up the 5th and final cross of the line to complete lap number 1. Does he have anything for Bailey? No, not quite. 2:35.5. So it's a dogfight at the top. Granberg, though, starts off strong. Maroney needs to respond.
Okay, clarification on the track limits rules here, by the way. Pavement, fine. If you go 4 off over to grass or gravel, not fine. So that clarifies. Turn 1's fair game.
Great.
If you come 4 tires off in the grass, though, Tom, that's not legal. So that clarifies what we saw in Club SC. But Peter Granberg should be okay. There's the difference right now, 0.778 between Maroney and Granberg. There's Feingold on your screen with the rear wing shaken as he heads up towards turn 6, trying to get up onto or stay on the podium with Jeremy Bailey charging hard behind.
Lots of entry speed there into turn 6. Looks good for Stan. Adjusting from an Evo in street class down to this car. I say down because it's a little bit slower, but this car is much more of a race car in some ways than that street class Evo. Down on the brakes at the 2 board, rolling it into turn number 8. So a pretty quick corner actually in a very short braking zone relative to all the turns you just did. See how close he keeps it to the inside. Typically you'll let the car fade just a little bit wide, as he does beautifully. Tucks it down into the carousel, drops a little bit of elevation, adds some camber. That car's pretty quiet. I was trying to listen for a little bit to see if it was even, yeah, he's on throttle.
Into the kink now, carrying good speed right out to the edge. Doesn't use all the rumble strip there, but that's a nice controlled kink for Stan Feingold in the K-Series Toyota 86. It's actually the refreshed version of the FRS BRZ platform when they switched over to Toyota. Slightly different bumper design and things, but probably doesn't have much of an effect on the aero of the car. Through turn 12, he's heading up the hill through Billy Mitchell. It's going to be lap number 2 complete for Maroney here in a moment. You'll see timing and scoring change if he improves. He does, 2:31.919, but it's not enough to knock Granberg down here, Tom. We'll see if Granberg can put Maroney deeper in the hole, and he will not. 2:31.227 still.
3 more cars to complete their third lap. This looks like a nice clean lap for Feingold. He needs to get into the 231s though if he wants to pick up any time, standing on a 232.1, so he just needs to drop 2/10. Takes the green flag for the final time, comes through and knocks Maroney down. It's an improvement at 231.29. It's just 7/100ths slower than Granberg. This is absolutely a fight coming into the third lap. Feingold rolls it down into turn number 1, looks really, really nice. And I think he might be bailing out.
I think he is. And if he knew how close he was to Granberg, I don't think he would have done that, Tom. Really, really tight between Feingold and Granberg at the top of the order. And Maroney needs to find 7/10 of a second on this final lap if he wants to win this, and or finish second. I mean, he needs to find 7/10 either way.
Top-seeded driver currently sitting third in class. And again, we mentioned not running nearly the number of laps. He did not, I don't think he ran any hot laps this morning in these hotter conditions. I have to wonder if he's struggling either on setup or just front-wheel drive grip and potential. Granberg is still going for it as well. He basically has it locked up at this point unless Maroney goes quicker. But Maroney certainly has the potential. It looks a little bit wide from across the shot there in turn number 8. Might have missed the apex just slightly. But if he's pushing on it.
4 miles, Tom. 63 thousandths of a second between those two cars.
Wild stuff.
And Maroney chasing both of them.
A little bit more consistent on the wheel that time, but still struggling to keep it tight through the exit of that carousel. Into the kink, flicks it in. Does he use more curb this time? No, looking very confident, very, very controlled and composed through there. He needs to drop about 7/10 to take this win. That is a lot of time to see on your predictive timer. That's almost a I made a mistake level of time. Is he slowing down? Is he bailing out? The flashers are on. That's not a good sign. Granberg is definitely running him down. I think Maroney might be bailing on this one.
That's a shame. It looks like Granberg might pick the pocket here. Granberg had reset the track record a couple of seasons in a row, and Maroney, I don't think, is on it completely. He's got hazards on. Granberg, 63 thousandths better than Feingold, but it's not over yet. They both have to get back to the checkers. Maroney's bailing. Granberg trying to put himself a little bit more ahead of Feingold here at the finish line, trying to put a little more delta, but Feingold was off as well. So the only car that could defeat them is Bailey or Jake Rawson, who's a little far back. So up the hill, will Granberg improve on this final lap? He will not. So 63 thousandths, if he wins it by that much time, that is going to be impressive.
And that's a notice to all the other competitors. First lap might be the one here in Time Attack, at least until we get towards the Unlimited class with some more slick style tires. These cars competing on 200 treadwear street tires. Waiting still for Bailey and Rawson. It's not completely over yet. They'd have to drop 2 and 4 seconds respectively. So that's a big ask. There's Rawson sweeping through turn 13. Bailey working his way up the front straight. Unless he pit out off camera, and we're waiting for them. Checkered flag flies.
And Jake Rawson, I think, is going to be the next. Oh, no, it's Bailey to the line here. And it is a pickup at 232.553, but it's not enough for a podium here this year. So close. It'll be 16 points for this event. And Jake Rawson, another big pickup, 234 flat. But that's going to do it. And 63 thousandths between Peter Granberg and Stan Feingold in the 286s. What about a battle between those two? And Granberg is going to win it. 2 rear-wheel drive cars over the front-wheel drive Civic of Mario Maroney. Tom.
It's a lot of fun to watch. And a shout-out to Bailey and Rawson, both dropping roughly a second there on their third laps. So digging deep and continuing to set personal best. That's what Time Attack's all about. But Granberg, a big congratulations there. He's going to take that win by just basically nothing. I mean, Stan can be proud of that one for sure. He'll probably know where 17 different versions of 7 thousandths was. That's a little bit tough, but those two just so close. You see Bailey pitting out underneath the graphic there at turn 5, and coming up next, that will lead us towards the street class battle.
Yep, and they're going to head out of pit lane just now. As you see Bailey pitting in, just shy of a podium on the season for him. But again, chasing Maroney in the championship fight. Peter Granberg was a little ways back earlier this year, but that will give him a big vault with 25 points in the column for him. So as Bailey heads back to the paddock, it's about to get busy on the racetrack. Fans heading over, getting set up for lunchtime and the Rush Series fan walk, which will be on the false grid during lunch. So if you're just waking up over there after last night's festivities, head on over towards the podium, basically where the Hyundai trailer is. That's where you're going to head for the GRIDLIFE Rush Series fan walk. You mentioned street classes coming up next. It'll be Brad Moore, who is the top seed in this group, Tom, in that yellow Porsche Cayman. But there's a handful of others we need to watch, including Mike Coons and Aaron Rekadal in the Impreza and the Civic, respectively. Will Dries is not going to be present here because he had a pretty big off in the kink the other day. That car done for the weekend, and I don't think Spaz Miller will be out as well. Looked like he blew another motor, unfortunate, but just got to get that car last time. This is not a game of one lap time. It's a game of at least two, and you need to make it last till Sunday now.
So 3 laps of competition for the street class cars here, winner take all, just like we just saw, but it's only going to be 3 of them based on that attrition. We don't just grace people up into this just because other people didn't show up, so it will be 3 cars, and I think it's going to be a pretty tight battle between the 2nd and 3rd place cars. There was nearly a second and a half separating Brad Moore in the yellow Cayman and this car on camera right here, Mike Coons in the Impreza. So we have a rear-wheel drive mid-engine car, an all-wheel drive front-engine car, and a front-wheel drive front-engine car competing heads up here in street. And again, it was pretty close between Coons and Rekadal, but Moore has been pretty dominant all weekend on his pace. The other 2 are going to have to find some serious time if they want to catch him.
Coons in the all-wheel drive car. It's the only subcategory of street class that didn't reset a record here this weekend. Both rear drive and front drive have reset with Moore and Rekadal, respectively. But all-wheel drive, again, its own unique beast. We talked about it during Q7 earlier today. And again, I think it's Moore's fight to lose here, but as we've seen with Maroney, I mean, you can be top seed and not win if you're not on it when you need to be. And the conditions are warmer than they've been all week, pretty much all weekend long. So you're just going to be a little different than we saw in the heats, and you've got the added pressure as well. So you need to perform now.
Brad Moore in the Cayman has been it's been a pretty fast and loose style car. We've been watching it wander through the braking zones. It looks like it really rotates more than a mid-engine car typically would, oversteer through the middle of the carousel. Tendencies like that, I mean, it's mostly down to what we suspect is just a really pushed out wide in front end, adding a lot of wheel and tire to what a car would typically run a stagger, larger rear wheel than a front wheel. He seems to have gotten that car really, really lively now as he starts his first lap. Green flag for street class in Podium Sprint. We're watching Mike Coons continue to warm that car up, a little wiggle even in turn 13 as he warmed the tires. And I have to wonder, does the residual track temp, or does the additional track temp, better said, change the dynamic here? I think it does not play to Aaron Rekadal's advantage in the front-wheel drive car. It might actually help Mike Coons just a little bit, especially if Brad Moore's car continues to get loose. Look at it wander down into turn number 1. No auxiliary or additional aero allowed in street. This is just factory bodywork, but you can add a ton of power to these cars running big wide wheels and 200 treadwear tires still in this category.
You know, it's interesting. We've seen street class be a pretty wide sandbox for what you consider to be a street class car, but honestly, all the cars really in the top 5 of this class, maybe save for Spaz Miller, who's not on track, these are very street-looking cars. Again, we've seen street class cars that have, you know, kind of a lot of interior missing, and they look very much like a race car and liveries and all this stuff, but not really so much for the cars here in this field. Really good representation from front drive, rear drive, and all-wheel drive in our top 3 seats here, and they'll be the only cars. So each car has its own unique advantages here, Tom. This is fun to watch.
Agreed. It's kind of a pretty unique rule set of what you're allowed to do. Again, the idea of not being allowed to add aero, but being allowed to add a bunch of wheel and tire and power. You know, that's not necessarily the same. That's actually completely different than Club TR, right? What we just talked about. Look at the big old front wheels on the front of that. I think they're actually even a different diameter, maybe running bigger wheels in the front potentially, or maybe that's just the fender arches making it look that way. Big brake check for the carousel, for the kink there on camera for Brad Moore. Building confidence as we take a look for the first time at Aaron Rekadal, flat out through turn 7, using all front axle to brake, turn, and throttle up through turn 8 into the carousel. There you can hear the scream of the Subaru underneath the shot there as well.
So only 3 cars, again, making it here. The attrition rate dropping the bottom 2 off of the seating here. So Brad Moore trying to repeat his successes from earlier in the weekend. Coons and Rekadal trying to pick the pocket of the yellow Porsche Cayman.
I think 27s are okay, 26s are great, 25s are amazing for any of these drivers. The qualifying seed for number 1, Brad Moore, was a 25.9. Mike Coons a 27.2. Aaron Rekadal a 28.5. And even gaps across all 3.
Brad Moore, first driver to come across the timing and scoring 228.3. And we'll see if that's going to be good enough here. Mike Coons using all the road at the exit of 14 and up and onto the front stretch. We'll see what the Subaru can do. Let's see if what's what makes a Subaru, Tom.
Yeah. Coming up underneath the green flag, waving there for the second time. Mike Coons standing on a 27. Can he go into the 28s? No, 29.8. These cars a little bit slower today, and again, they're not as modified. I wonder if the track temp's just slowing them down a little bit more than others. You could tell from Brad Moore's body language when he was on camera for a couple of those corners. Didn't seem all that ready to attack just yet. Aaron Reckedahl comes through on his first run, a 2:30.3. So these cars spread out by about a second each. Reckedahl's got a big flick down into turn number 1 on throttle early. That looks really, really nice for that front-wheel drive car. Back to the current top seed and top runner. Brad Moore, it doesn't even sound like he's fully on it there. Yeah, I think he might be going for a cool down. I don't want to fully say that, but he was way more energy into turn number 6 previous lap. Yeah. It doesn't sound like he's on full throttle either. Maybe a reset, maybe a strategy here, knowing he's got 3, I'm going to take the first and third.
And some drivers, some cars will do that. Again, when we get to the super fast stuff, is Coons doing the same?
I think Coons is doing the same thing. This is really interesting. These drivers managing their temps, managing their session very differently than we've seen out of the previous 2 sessions. And I can't say I've seen them do this in the past specifically, so this isn't necessarily something that street class cars do, but this is something that these drivers have come to the conclusion that they would like to do. We think there's a lot of time left on the table for these cars if you have the ability to cool it back down and go for it a third time. 2 good chances is better than 3 okay chances, you know?
Absolutely. And again, they've got the time to do this. They might as well do it. Cool things down, keep the engine temps, the tire temps reasonable, and give one more good Willie towards the very end here. Reckedahl, again, I'm not sure if he's on the same strategy there. We're all within about a second and a half of each other, so Reckedahl's not very far from Coons.
He's on it. I can hear the Civic underneath there. He's fully committed to the exit of the carousel. Luckily, he's going to clear Coons just after the kink, I think, unless Coons sees him coming and tacks her back up. Looks like he has done so. Reckedahl comes through the kink, probably right about 110 miles an hour for these street class cars under there, coming in at maybe 115 or 20, so it's a small speed adjustment. And there's the gap between the two, only 0.5 of a second separating Coons and Reckedahl. We thought it would be a good battle for second. Currently it is, but they have us a little bit on the edge of our seats. What's happening here? Why are they doing this? We think they're going to reset for a green flag. Yep. Sure enough, Brad Moore comes across and he's at full tilt. Coons will be doing the same thing in just a second.
Yeah, and again, we're getting confirmation from Spaz in the chat that said Brad is doing on-off due to temps. So exactly right, Tom. And they're all going to do the same exact strategy. They're all going to get trophies. That's the other thing to consider, is that this podium sprint is designed so that you can make a mistake and not get one, right? There's a little bit of things on the table, but now with those 2 other competitors not being present here, you're all going to get a trophy. Now you just have to figure out who's going to get the biggest one. So Coons across the stripe. Here comes Reckedahl starting their final flying lap here in Track Battle Podium Sprint, and now Reckedahl can see Coons, and that's a bit of a carrot to chase.
I think Reckedahl might have used the last bit of that lap to cool down as well. Really big rotation for the Civic. Again, front-wheel drive, probably pushing a little over 350 horsepower if he's got it tuned up for street here. 320 wheel horsepower from the factory, maybe even closer to 400, depending on how far he wants to push that turbo K20C. And again, the Porsche came in well up the road. Here he is sweeping through turn 6. Big rotation. That's the looseness we expected to see in the warmer conditions. How composed is it through turn 7? Looks nice. Grabs the inside curb. Dives on the brakes down into turn number 8 at about the 3 board. Rotates it in. You can see the apex just through the stage. I think he clipped it okay. And this is where we've seen the car be a little bit nervous. Watch his hands on the wheel as he pans underneath us here. Will the front end of this car cooperate? Will the back end of this car cooperate? Looks like he's under nice control so far. Not really challenging the limit too much. Steady hands. And also not needing to use too much of the exit of the track. I think Brad Moore is going for a pretty measured approach here. Again, pretty decent early brake for the carousel before for the kink, getting back on throttle. Using a bit of the curb.
Using more racetrack than last time around, obviously, because he's on the cool down here. So Brad Moore, again, you don't know the other lap times here. Unless you've got radio communication, you have no idea what everyone else is doing out there. So you can only go fast, and you can look at the timer and know, hey, you know, I was targeting this in these conditions, but you don't really know what anyone else is doing. So there's some anxiety there that how hard do I need to push? Can I just take it kind of easy and get a nice clean lap, or do I really need to push and extract maximum pace?
Flat 6 in the Porsche, screaming up through turn 13, rotating it down into turn 14, goes for a bit of a late approach on the turn in, but all the curb on the exit. And this has been a pretty solid lap, but I will agree, it's maybe alarming if you know you had a 26 or 27 in it and you only did a 28. What's he got this time? Needs to go a little bit quicker, I think, to make himself comfortable.
And it is not faster. 228,
Wow.
353. Can Koons improve? He needed a pretty big improvement to get there. Coming up over the crest in the Subaru, here's Aaron Reckendahl in the Civic. Again, resetting the front-wheel drive street class record earlier in the weekend. He'll have that in the record book and an additional point on the weekend. But he leaves turn 14. Koons
is MIA.
Where is Koons?
Yeah, he has not come through. So that, I think, will just default the victory to Brad Moore unless Aaron Reckendahl is able to basically reset a personal best on the entire weekend. He's trying. Civic Type R comes through.
Didn't, and Koons slow, and looks like he has given up on it. And is the horn stuck on?
It kind of sounds like something in the driveline is rubbing and making that whirring noise. Maybe something drive shaft related or engine related, but very much under, not under full power, of course, but sounds like he barely has any power to give it, just trying to limp it back.
Well, that was that was a lot of buildup for a little bit of a peter out there in performance.
That's time attack sometimes. I mean, again, these cars are allowed to modify the engine more than anything else in a way, so they're pushing those limits. And that will focus back to Brad Moore. Congratulations on taking the podium sprint win here at Summer Apex in the street class.
Yeah, let's have a look at the results here for street class. Again, Brad Moore getting it done. Mike Koons, Aaron Reckendahl, again, all trying to outbest the other. Pretty tight, all things considered, Tom, but it all happened on lap one. Big note for everyone else in the field that I'm not sure you're going to get more than one good lap with the conditions, with the temperatures here. Again, we're definitely past the point of building pace. In the next couple of cars, the next class is Street GT and on and up, you really get one good lap before things get hot, before your tires get greasy.
This will be fun. This is kind of the big bores if you're a race fan. These are similarly modified. You're not allowed to do a whole lot of exciting stuff to these cars, which makes them very much rowdy to drive. We're going to have 3 Corvettes, an M4, and a Camaro coming at us, yet to roll from the grid, but there's a lot of horsepower and not a lot of aero, not a lot of grip overall, and that's going to make this track condition even more interesting for having to try to deliver on that first lap. Maybe some tire management and session management going to show up here as well.
Well, we should have all of our competitors from Street GT in this class, and the bottom seat, P5, the 228 of Brad Smith in a Chevrolet Camaro. P4 in the seating, Mark Kilgore, the number 909 BMW M4. Then it's 3 Corvettes, Nicholas Hendricks in the 364, Ryan Matthews in the 211 Corvette, that's a C6, and Luke McGrew also in a C6. So 3 C6 vets, all headed out on the racetrack now. Luke McGrew, top seed, but he and Ryan Matthews have been battling for the championship lead. They've been battling all weekend long here, but Luke looks to be the faster of the two, but he has to do it one more time.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good handle on this class this weekend. Comes in based on qualifying over the 7 sessions, 1.7 seconds quicker than Ryan Matthews in the red C6, and has backed that up, not to the fullest extent, but has matched his personal best within about 6 or 7 tenths multiple times, all of which would have put him faster than Matthews. So I think I agree, McGrew is the car to beat, just got to deliver. A much closer battle, only 3 tenths separating the other 2 Corvettes of Matthews and Hendricks. So the black Corvette is McGrew, Matthews in the red, Hendricks in the dark gray.
So we've had 3 head-to-head matchups between McGrew and Matthews this year, and every single time McGrew has come out on top, including a track record reset at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Every time that Luke has won, Matthews has been either second or third. So it looks to be maybe more of the same here today as far as Matthews being up on the podium. But again, you have to perform. Luke is a longtime competitor in not only time attack, but in our IBOC GLTC series. Ran up at the front, was probably set to win last year's championship before deciding on a whim to sell his race car and buy a C8 Corvette, which he ran in track mod for a little bit. He's also got this Street GT built C6, so he's got a couple of different choices these days for competition, but very tidy driver, Tom, and you've raced alongside him, always fair, but really, really talented driver, but I've really never seen him put a wheel off track.
Yeah, I don't know if mellow is quite the right word, because he definitely has an energy and an aura to him, almost, Luke McGrew does from Hurricane, West Virginia. used to drive a Vopper.
A Vopper.
Fun fact.
Yeah,
I can't not say it that way now. But he's not necessarily chill in that way, but he's a pretty measured driver. And I don't know that he cares what session it is in his head. You know, it's just, this is a session. I'm going to go drive the car how I drive the session. And unlike other drivers who I think maybe will feel the pressure and feel the anxiety of this being an important time, this is the one winner take all. I just don't get the energy from Luke that matters too much to him. He's very, very much more plugged into, you know, what can I improve on the car? What changed from the previous session? All of the driver nuances. Really enjoys talking about all that stuff and working on that stuff. But doesn't seem to be particularly moved by the competition as he comes to the green flag. He can just come deliver that same lap again and maybe walk away with this one. Ryan Matthews had a big rotation coming out into the front straightaway just behind. Here's clear the crest now and also take his green flag for the first flying lap. McGrew looking nice and composed down into turn 1, balancing the throttle early before rolling into it, pushing the back end around down into turn number 2. Going to break just about the cut in the wall on driver's left as he comes down into the apex.
Yeah, again, for these Corvettes and really all the street GT cars, probably speeds north of 150 miles an hour, maybe even a little better than that. And these cars are very well built for this kind of thing. Very point and shoot cars, not a lot of aero. Road America for most of the lap is really flat out, and these cars are right at home here. Look at Luke. Look how to the inside he is braking across the racetrack into turn 5.
Trying to create a nice straight line, really bellowing the downshifts, and then wraps onto the throttle. Second gear grabbing third, up the hill towards the Corvette bridge. That's nice and appropriate. Big lean on the outside rear as he rotates it into turn number 6. Not using too much of that outside curb. Ooh, that's a really beautiful rotation through turn number 6. I love turn number 7. That was beautiful. And fun fact, top speed I think might actually be the BMW M4, 165 plus miles an hour on the straights. So he will have a little bit of an advantage, but also a weight disadvantage. McGrew is going to get companion through the carousel in a drone pilot. Luckily the car's loud. He won't quite hear the fans, but it looks nice and composed. Little micro corrections on the steering wheel, but overall a very clean first lap in what might be the best lap that these drivers get.
Yeah, very tidy for Luke McGrew here, and just great yaw through the carousel. Saw the rear end just leading the front and just getting the car to rotate. Rotation seems to be no problem with this car. If you don't have enough, just boot the throttle and it'll finish coming around for you. But down into Canada corner now on the brakes, slowing it up. Matthews still chasing with Hendricks and Kilgore in that M4. I'd like to see that M4 maybe next time around in pursuit of a podium.
Now that was a lot of curb on the exit of Canada and a big swing from the rear tires. The car absolutely being pushed to its limit. He's 4 over the white line. It's okay, but that's a lot of runoff at turn 13. Very much committed and then gets it woed up nicely. I think that looked like a really, really solid turn 14. It's easy to throw everything away there. Luke McGrew coming to complete lap number 1 of 3 in the podium sprint. Fastest lap wins. Can he lay down the time that no one can catch? Look for 220s, 221s. What's he got?
It is going to be a 220.089.
Wow.
That's fast, Tom.
That is barely slower than what he did in qualifying. It's only 400 slower. That was an incredibly well-delivered lap. Matthews comes through next. He's well off of his qualifying time at 224.6. Going to be looking to build on that. What does Hendricks have? Nick Hendricks coming to the line at 220.0 is the best time that he had prior to this in qualifying. He's going to trip the lights.
And he is going to go third quick, but not by much, 2/10 of a second behind Matthews. Then the question mark becomes Mark Kilgore in that BMW. Here he comes up the hill in the number 909. And you said real fast on the straightaway, it's 165 miles an hour plus.
And that was on his base map. He might have turned it up just a little bit for this session. Looks like he lost quite a bit of ground on that first time.
P2,
wow,
224, 479 for Mark Kilgore. Let's follow him around and see if he can improve on that. Again, he's going to need to find 4 seconds. That seems hard, but a big rotation into turn 1 time.
Yeah, still stock brakes on this car. He said if he pushes multiple laps in a row, they start to feel real unhappy by the end of that second and third lap. He's really wandering down into the brake zone of 1, but it looked very, very well executed. I like the look of that. Down into turn 3, no obvious mistakes from our camera out here. Also, we've mentioned Smith came through in the Camaro. Brad Smith was was able to complete a 227.7, sorry, excuse me, a 228.1. So he's only 0.4 off of his best time. But watching Kilgore on this lap, look at again, wandering the back end all over the place. He gets it woed up. It's almost backing itself in. The brakes are glowing red in the sunlight. Look at under power here.
That graphic's not supposed to do that, but Kilgore right behind. That was actually a really funny glitch. Have Kilgore breathing down the neck of Luke McGrew there through turn 6 and into 7.
He's going to be praying that the brakes stay working for him for the rest of this lap. He's really pushing the car now. Mentioned on his map too, he gains about 30 horsepower, but over 100 foot-pounds of torque out of that massive power output front engine, and he's the only car that can really tune with boost, which is a big advantage of this car. The disadvantage is just how big it is. Mentioned the brakes already, but it's also probably about 400 pounds heavier, driver included, compared to the top Corvettes. He's sitting second in the category right now after the strength of that first lap, looking very nicely composed. He's only got a 0.2 advantage over Ryan Matthews, then Hendricks in the fourth position, excuse me, 0.2 further back than that. Playing with the throttle just a little bit through the carousel, but a boosted car, you can get away with that. It keeps the turbo spooled up. Rolling down towards Canada corner, will he have brakes left? Nose dives.
Yeah, again,
I think he made it.
I think he'll be stoked with a second place. I mean, kind of outperforming the seating. Anytime that you can flip the order around, that's a good day. And green flag waving for the final lap for Nick Hendricks. And he goes to second, 224.072. Pips Kilgore, knocks him down to third. So if Mark can't improve there, he'll end up with a slightly smaller trophy than he probably could have earned if he could just find another few tenths of a second.
Mark is driving really well in this big BMW. See if he can take 0.4 out of his previous best. Will start a third flyer, green flag on lap number 3. Does he improve? No, not able to do it. Maintains the third position. Ryan Matthews not completing the lap at all. He will maintain 4th position coming into this in the second seat. That's a big upset.
It is. Kilgore looks like he's still on it, though, and he's got one more lap to do it. Brad Smith, no pickup that time, 228.156. Here's Hendricks again on the brakes into turn 5 in the gray Z06. And there's the gap between second and third, 0.4 of a second.
Sorry, brakes on that car glowing as well. These guys pushing some factory equipment to its absolute limit in Street GT. Look at it trying to come around on the entry. Got to be really, really balanced on the steering wheel there. Gets it woed up beautifully under the Corvette bridge. Does he grab as much curb as Luke? Yes, just kisses it. Those Corvettes look so good through turn number 7. Down towards turn 8, probably getting on the brakes pretty early, and we're going to get a Corvette popping up underneath the drone here in just a second. Underneath the bridge, how dare you?
Here we go.
Artsy. Oh, man.
How about 2 loops while we're waiting for Hendricks? There he is. Look at that. Time to perfection. He's going to chase the Corvette through. They're just showing off now, Tom, through 9 and 10 in the carousel.
Ooh, listen to that tire chirp in the middle of the corner, though. That was a little bit clunky, maybe at the apex, if that was the correct audio file playing underneath in my headset. I think he might have had a bit of a flat slide through the kink, which is going to make it tough. And again, he doesn't actually need to improve unless he has the ability to go 4 seconds faster. McGrew did it, 1 and done, pulled off. Matthews did 1 and done as well. Something not happy with that car. Maybe he's just doing that to make sure he makes the next podium sprint in his street mod car. We'll get to that.
I would think so, because street mod's the next class on track.
Yeah, so Hendricks pretty much guaranteed at least a top 3 at this point. Mark Kilgore, we haven't seen him on this lap yet other than turn 1, which he did take at speed. Kilgore still in within a shot. It's unlikely, though, that BMW is going to have enough brake and tire left to finish a third full tilt lap.
Up over the crest here, checkered flag waving, and it'll be McGrew off track. Hendricks chasing the 717. I don't think he's going to beat him. He's just playing defense right now for Mark Kilgore in the BMW. Across the stripe for Hendricks, does not pick up, stays at the 224.072. Is the 909 BMW still pushing in the M4 later in this lap? If he pulled off, here he comes up the front straightaway. He's still on course. And let's see if Mark Kilgore can just find 0.4 of a second and knock Hendricks off the top step, or off the bottom, the second step here. Across the stripe for Kilgore, and it is not an improvement. He will stay P3 at the checkered flag, and the only car left to come through is Brad Smith, assuming he's on his finishing lap there in the Chevrolet Camaro, Tom.
I think Mark will be pretty thrilled with that podium finish here after coming in the 4th seed. Really dug deep for that in these challenging conditions, but McGrew was just so impressive. I think that was obviously we don't have in-car video or any sort of telemetry to know, but I think that was just a spectacular lap from the black Corvette to take the win here in Street GT. There's a look at Brad Smith coming through, completes 3 laps in Podium Sprint to bring home 5th place in the, let's say, slightly disadvantaged big booty Camaro. Not nearly the high-end performance, not high-end, highest performance as the Corvette, but he gets the job done yet. Anyway.
Let's have a look at the results here for Street GT. Look at this. Now they're really going for a ride. That's Street class. Let's have a look at Street GT. It's going to be Luke McGrew up on top of the standings. There he is, 220.089 with the peace sign, and he really pieced out, didn't he? 4 seconds ahead of Nick Hendricks. Then Mark Kilgore in 3rd. He'll end up on the podium. Ryan Matthews misses out. That's big for the championship fight. Brad Smith finishes 5th in the number 228. Why is that big for the championship fight? Because Ryan Matthews was leading Luke McGrew by 10 points, but with Luke winning and Matthews finishing 4th, Tom, that's 9 points. That means that they're going to leave here, Ryan Matthews leading by only 1 point.
Oof, and midway through the season, that is not a comfortable lead at all. That feels like a tie, and especially if the gap is shrinking, it can be very difficult. Again, the GRIDLIFE schedule is still yet to go to Lime Rock Park for Circuit Legends. Coming up in a couple of weeks, we go to Autobahn Country Club in Chicagoland. After that, Laguna Seca out on the West Coast is our penultimate round and our last festival with music and the all. And then rounding out the season at Pittsburgh International Race Complex, coming back to the Midwest for the championship rounds of at least all of the grip classes here. Moving on to street mod competition.
Oh boy, this is going to be a fun one. And the seeds for this class here, top seed, Boogeyman, Dewey DeWitt in the number 70, 1995 Subaru Impreza L. Up north of 650 horsepower. Then it's Luca Barberis in the number 444 Supra. Cal Fortner in the Mercedes-AMG GTS. Ryan Matthews again in C5 Corvette this time. And Jamie Santos with a pretty wild lap the other day managed to just get 5th place in the number 82. Now, Cal Fortner, by the way, this AMG GTS has seen some changes. They can make north of 700 horsepower now, Tom, but they were fighting the differential at Gingerman Raceway last month, so we'll see if they can keep the power down and through the drivetrain, and see if he can maybe either maintain a podium or jump up to the top.
Yeah, I noticed that car getting some pretty wild one-wheel peels. Wouldn't be surprised if there was 30 or 40 miles an hour difference in the inside and outside tire. And again, that outside tire loaded up, the inside tire not. If you're putting too much power for the diff to handle, it's going to be unhappy, and it's just going to give you a burnout on that inside tire. So this car comes in 3rd seed. He had held the rear-wheel drive record, resetting it at this event until Luca Barberis came through with a really quick 2:16.7, put a couple of tenths of a second on Cal Fortner in the red Supra, but everybody was chasing. Dewey DeWitt resetting the record here. He got a full second up on everybody in qualifying, but these are the types of cars where you can lose big time and gain big time. The ceiling is really, really high. We're still on 200 treadwear street tires here, similar to what you would buy for your performance car if you go to an autocross or a track. Dewey has a whole lot more car than you probably do, though, coming to the green flag.
And Dewey DeWitt in Boogeyman, 2023 Street Mod Championship winner, and of course last year did not have a season that he was really stoked about, so really trying to go back to the top step. Nice, good flat slide there through turn 1, Tom, looking quick.
We talked about how all-wheel drive cars work, and that's exactly what they need to do. Flat sliding, but always productive on the grip. This is not a maximizing minimum speed corner car. This is not a momentum car in any way. You can drive it like a momentum car, but the key is getting the power down and maximizing time spent accelerating forward. There's the car coming through turn 3, Barberis in the Supra. He did not turn very many laps this weekend at all. We're going to keep our eyes on Boogeyman getting woe down for turn number 5. On throttle early. Does he rotate it? Yes, just barely, though. Very nicely composed. You can hear that sequential transmission banging gears inside of its factory housing. So yes, it's sort of a factory transmission, but not really. Boogeyman coming through turn number 5. Dewey DeWitt up on the wheel, very wiggly at high-speed entry. This car looks a little bit nervous with a lot of front-end aero on it on the high speeds. Dewey's going to have to adjust his driving to that because it's probably quick, just a little bit rowdy. Gets the power down again into turn number 8 through the carousel. Curious to see how he manages understeer here. Again, a little bit of wiggling through the entry. Here in lift there, the turbo spools off and then back on.
Dewey, one of the fire laps users in the paddock, saw 170 plus miles an hour for this car. That is fast for a car from 1995.
That was a fantastic exit through the carousel. High commitment, checks it up. He's had not the most impressive min speeds through the kink, but it doesn't really matter because he can again put that power down and re-accelerate so quickly, grabbing one more gear before on the brakes for the Canada corner the first time, completing lap number 1 in 2 corners time. Big rotation out of Canada corner, up towards turn 13. He's going to have to make a speed adjustment there, little lift, and back on throttle just after the curve. You hear the blow-off valve on that car too. Gets it woed up very nicely early as well for turn number 14. Qualified with a 2:15. I think if he can run a 2:16, that's going to put him on the podium. What's he got on lap number 1?
Here comes Dewey DeWitt and Boogeyman in the Subaru across the line here in Track Battle Podium Sprint at Summer Apex. 2:16, 2:94. Solid lap here, Tom.
That would still be the fastest time in Street Mod if his other time didn't exist. Probably going to cool it down for a lap, I would guess. Yeah, maybe. All right, well, here comes Luca Barbera's second car through. Can he run a 2:16? No, it's going to be a 2:18 flat, a little bit slower than what he showed earlier. This car might have a little bit better longevity. It's a much newer car for sure. So Barbera's going to throw it. Barbera's going to throw it down, and here's Jamie Santos dragging the splitter. This is the 5th place car that we mentioned. He has that thing slammed this morning as maybe even a mechanical failure, dragging that splitter through the carousel into the kink and down to the brake zone for Canada corner.
Yeah, I don't know that that is supposed to be happening. It seems like something is dragging. Maybe he lowered tire pressures enough where that's just dragging the rub blocks there, Tom, but that looked like too much. Yeah, it's broken. Something the splitters, it's definitely vibrating there. The braces are broken. Oh,
looks like he doesn't quite have the steering wheel or the front downforce at least that he expected. And I'll tell you, that doesn't look that crazy on camera. It's obviously making a lot of sparks, but in the car, that feels like everything is about to explode. Well, it's the most insane feeling in the steering wheel. Everything is vibrating. Meanwhile, we had a lap through for Ryan Matthews, goes to the 3rd position, a 219.2 ahead of Cal Fortner. Not able to go quicker on that first lap, 220.3. Santos a 221. So right now, Matthews keeping Fortner honest. They came in qualified in the opposite order. Fortner a little bit quicker by about a second. And everybody on a cooldown lap. Matthews is going to call it. What's Fortner going to do? In the AMG, does he turn left? Yes, Fortner's going to go for it one more time. It's a cooldown lap number 2. I think we're going to see this often for the rest of the day throughout the last couple of sessions in Podium Sprint.
Santos finished his lap, 221.527.
Yeah.
That's not far off from where he ran yesterday. I'm impressed that he was able to even salvage that, but I don't know that he's going to get much better than that with that car. Again, how much mechanical torture can that front end take with that thing banging off the ground so much?
Kind of been hanging on by a thread all weekend, to be honest. The car looked rowdy, then he bounced it off the wall just slightly, and now the front splitter's falling off. I think he'll be happy with a 5th place and a decent lap there. Cal Fortner's the car to watch, though. Was the 3rd fastest coming in, currently the 4th fastest off the podium, as Dewey also was definitely on a cool down. The green flag waves. I think Dewey's going to go for it one more time.
Yeah, and here comes, he's off to driver's right on the front straightaway here, Tom, but going into turn 1, Dewey does look like he's on it. We'll see if it'll turn out to be a quick lap. And Dewey with Boogeyman on the top step right now. Ryan Matthews might eke out a podium over Cal Fortner. Fortner came in as the 3rd seed, but he needs to perform one more time. Dewey through turn 3. Barberis comes across the line after his cool down. He's throttling up for one more go, and I think we'll see the same out of Fortner. And probably Matthews pit in, so Matthews will not be going for any more. He's going to hope that he sticks on the podium there, but there's the difference for the trophy. Ryan Matthews with a 219.259, Fortner at a 220.379. He needs 1.1 seconds out of the AMG GTS. Dewey tires protesting there through turn 5.
Yeah, the car does not seem as happy as it looked before, just in those first 3 seconds that it was on camera. He's going to push it anyway. But the 216 is a really, really nice, the low 216 is a really nice start to the session. He doesn't really need anything more, we believe, but he might want to push this lap just because. Why not? You get the extra lap. A little bit more composed on this one as well. I still think the car's a little bit unhappy relative to that first lap. Temps are high, tire temps are high, engine temps are high. Bring himself through the carousel. Go ahead.
Yeah, the 70, and there's the 14. This is the car I was watching really fast on the front straight. Jamie Santos is still on track, dragging that splitter around also. So Cal Fortner again trying to get back up onto the podium. That's the battle we're watching. There's that front splitter on Santos's car, and he's pushing out wide. It is an angry car this weekend. It has just not been very mechanically happy. Here's that 14. A lot of potential in this car. They had a lot of learnings from the GT4 spec AMG, Tom. Trying to get some of the front bits on the GT4 car to stick to it, but slightly different clips and things.
Sure, yeah, I imagine all the bodywork just a little bit different, but you heard the tires protesting through the apex of turn 5, climbs the curb at turn number 8, needs to find 1.1 seconds. In these conditions, again, unless there was a major mistake on the previous lap, just finding that much time is so difficult. You don't just get to find 1.1 seconds on your 8th session of the weekend more often than not. It's not impossible. But it is going to be a tall order for Cal Fortner. Woven up on the entry for the carousel to keep the car under control, and those tires are just not happy. Howling through the middle of the carousel. Roar, roar, roar. That's my impression anyway. Coming into the kink, checks it up on the brakes, drags the splitter. That's a little bit of sparks.
Yeah, Dewey, no improvement. Crossed the line there off throttle. So this is the only driver still left really going for it right now is Cal Fortner in the 14 car. Down into Canada corner here, Tom. He just needed, again, 1.1 seconds, you said?
Yeah.
So is he still on it? It's hard to tell. But again, he gave it a lot for the first half of the lap. And it looks like he's also bailed out.
Yeah, certainly at this point, okay, just confirming before he turned in for that corner, and yeah, has grabbed a couple upshifts and will roll that car back in. I think that car just didn't have enough tire on it for this session either. Took enough out of him for the first, or the temps are too high for what I imagine is a relatively heavy car, certainly compared to this car, which will take the win. Street Mod Podium Sprint winner from Road America, giving the crowd a thumbs up. Nice job, Eric Dewey DeWitt in the Boogeyman. The Subaru takes a track record this weekend and takes the win, gold medal for our French horn friend.
Let's have a look at the results here for Street Modified. Eric Dewey DeWitt in the number 70, as you said, getting it done. This is going to be great for his championship fight as well. As you look at the rest of the order here, Luca Barberis, Ryan Matthews, Cal Fortner, and Jamie Santos. DeWitt, Matthews, and Santos were the top 3 in the points coming in, so Dewey's going to extend his 10-point advantage over Ryan Matthews by about 7 more points. So it'll be a pretty good chunk. He's going to be well over 100 points now, as we're now moving into the track mod category, the penultimate ordering here of our series here. So it's going to be, let's see, Alan Patton headed on track here in a moment's time, Justin Peachy, and some others. Did Cal Fortner roll through the pit lane?
He did, yeah.
Out the other end? All right. So Alan Patton is going to be the top seed here, and then it'll be Jackie Ding in the blue M2. Justin Peachy is the red Corvette in trail here. He had a big moment at Carolina Motorsports Park earlier in the year, stalled out the aero on the rear wing and went for a big slide through the kink at CMP. And he's been in the conversation all weekend long here in the track mod category, but not quite at the pointy end. P3 is the seed for that car. Then Igor Keselov in the number 369 Tesla you see on screen, and Chris Smith in trail in the 1 Series BMW from Seems Legit Garage. Has that splitter always been orange, or is that new? Look new. At least the front of the splitter was orange.
I think the third, fourth, and fifth place seeded cars are going to be very interesting in this. We've got that Hawk Performance Corvette with Justin Peachy at the wheel. It's a C6 car that's he's been building up for a very long time now. Takes on a whole bunch of different events with it. Igor Keselov in the Model S. It's a totally unique car that we've basically only have one of this weekend. Sometimes we have a lot of Teslas, not this weekend, but they were only separated by 1.5 seconds in the qualifying rounds. Chris Smith was another 0.2 back. So those top 3 are spread by quite a bit, but the third, fourth, and fifth place cars come in pretty closely qualified. This car has been in a zip code of its own. Alan Patton running a 208.7 in qualifying. He's been fighting some handling issues throughout the weekend that have developed into what looks like a pretty nice driving car. Looked pretty nervous at the beginning of the week, and now it's been very composed and under control the last couple laps we've seen out of it. But I'm really intrigued to see if any 2 of these 3 cars on camera now can take that third podium spot. I think all of them have the potential.
Yeah, pretty slow out lap for Keselov and Chris Smith. Again, you need to gap yourself up here, Tom, and get some good running.
Yeah, well, the reason for that, the electric vehicles, you know, they're basically limited by heat even more so than a turbo car or a built motor car. They really have to keep the battery temperatures down because the battery will start to pull power over the lap as it realizes it doesn't have enough to do what you're asking it to do. So you have to be really, really strategic with how you drive the car, and even when you charge the car before you go out on a racetrack, so that it makes full power for as much of the lap as possible. Other drivers actually approach these sessions by just setting a top speed and only accelerating 2 there to try to manage temps. At the front, though, green flag flies for Alan Patton.
Yeah, track mod on course now. Alan Patton rushing towards turn 1 of the Louis Gigliotti C7. Grabs a little dirt on entry here, Tom, but looking really racy through that opening corner, and he's going to go for it. Patton does not leave anything on the table.
Man, that looked good. I thought for a second he might be in a little bit hot. It was perfect. I love the way that turn 1 looked. Jackie Ding looked really good too. A little bit of a wiggle as he came into our camera shot, but he is starting the lap off as close as he can to Alan Patton without crowding him to try to stay inspired. Third car starts its lap. That's Justin Peachy. Did a new exhaust setup on this car that sounds so unique to any other V8 or Corvette here. Beautiful high revving sound there through turn number 1, and then again the Tesla really holding back on the warm-up lap. Back to Patton at the front of the grid, slinging it through turn number 6. He's had some high-speed rotation issues. Is it planted this time? Yes. I think they dialed quite a bit of understeer into that car all the way out to the track limits at turn 7, kicking up the dirt, down on the brakes at the 3 for turn 8.
Looking really good, and again, he'd been struggling with the car on the test day earlier this week. They kind of broke the rest of the splitter that was already sort of fractured, so on Thursday night they were cutting a new wood splitter for this car, and it's been fast all weekend long. New track mod, record holder in rear-wheel drive, little wiggle there, leaving the carousel, grabbed some dirt there, Tom, but never lifted.
That was a lot of drama through the middle, and he was nice to correct it lightly, but you heard him playing with the throttle, trying to minimize how much of that little rotation affected the car. Dropped the tires just that little bit, but he's composed through the carousel through the kink into Canada corner.
Good here for Alan Patton. Again, current competitor in GT4 America as well in the AM category with Thunder Bunny Racing. They've been so close to podium a number of times there, but relatively new to driving cars. He's only really been doing this for a couple of years, Tom, and he is just fearless out there.
Not afraid to throw everything he's got at it, including a bunch of extra days and a bunch of extra mods. Comes up under the bridge for the first time. He's put a couple of car links on Jackie Ding, but Ding has done a good lap as well. Patton comes through.
Ooh.
Faster, 2:08.6. He goes quicker than his qualifying time.
And is that a new track record then as well?
It would, yeah. He goes quicker by a 1/10 than his own previous best. Jackie Ding comes through at a 2:12.5. He's been hunting for a 2:10. Track conditions won't allow that, I don't think, at this point. Although Alan Patton disagrees.
Alan Patton just laying it down, 208.669. And again, has continually reset the track mod rear-wheel drive record and will do so again in the podium sprint. That does not happen very much. Here's a look at what it was. It was a 208.779, exactly to your point, Tom. 0.11 better for Alan Patton. Nicely done. And here's Chris Smith in the number 212, chasing the Tesla on track. And in the seating, a little bit of smoke coming out of that orange Seems Legit garage car into turn 14. He was sort of owed one after a slip up at Podium Sprint in Carolina Motorsports Park, but up the hill now, a lot of smoke coming out of that car. He just needs to finish this lap and get one on the board.
Justin Peachy set the third fastest time at a 2:18.1. 2:20.8 the time for Keselov in the Tesla, 2:20.6 for the V8 swapped BMW. So Peachy does a good enough job, actually by 2.5 seconds, to probably secure that third position. Everybody gets 2 more laps if they want it. Looks like the Tesla was backed off pretty much.
Whoa! Noted the brake rotors glowing hot on the Corvette, and then a big lateral slide through turn 5, Tom, but he gathered it up.
Really, you don't often see brake pads or brake rotors glowing in the daytime, and this has been most of the Corvettes and the BMW from Street GT, and now this Corvette in track mod. So the stock brakes are really, really having a hard time today. Something to keep in mind when we get towards GLGT and GLTC races 4. But Justin Peachy looks like he's on a pretty good cool down now. Maybe we'll reset for a third lap, maybe not. But again, I think he really has it secured there at a 2:18.1. He's 2.5 seconds clear of Smith and Keselov. Keselov in the Tesla appeared to be giving up this second lap, if not just doing the one lap. Again, the batteries in that car, especially the Plaid, where they are capable of making 1,000 horsepower, they burn the heat so quickly. By the end of the lap, even, you might be only making 500 or 600.
Yeah, and Justin Peachy battling Alan Patton for the Track Mod Championship, but I don't think they've had, well, they have had a head-to-head a number of times. Peachy's been at every event so far this year, and Alan Patton has beat him every time and also won the event every time, and 2 track records and now 3 to boot. There's the gap between them, 9 seconds on the racetrack, Tom. That is a pretty significant difference.
And that's what kind of can happen with these builders classes up at the top. They're obviously all drivers classes. Someone has to drive the car, but they allow so many more modifications in these high-level classes, specifically unlimited and track mod. It's not surprising to see some cars end up in track mod without being full tilt cars. I would say Alan Patton might be the closest to a full tilt track mod car that we've had since the rules were restructured recently.
Yeah, Jackie Ding's back on a fast lap in turn 3 at the moment. I think going for one more. He's done a little better than a 2:12.552. Peachy comes across the stripe. And Peachy again, first at Carolina Motorsports Park, then 5th, 4th, and 4th at the previous 3 events. Road Atlanta, Midwest at Gingerman Raceway, and Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Smith will get one more lap. I'm not sure if he'll take it or not. Already scored 4th. There, hey, we got the new picture. It doesn't have the green screen problem anymore. Glad we fixed that up.
So Chris Smith came in seated 5th for this podium sprint at a 2:19.1. He would have to improve his personal best on the weekend by a full second to dethrone Justin Peachy, who has also started a 3rd flying lap. Jackie Ding, as you mentioned, start 1-2. I believe the Tesla calling it done after 1. That's what we predicted. Smith, a little bit of a wobble from the exhaust as he rolls into turn number 1, but he's going for it. Grabs some dirt on the way in. Nice and composed overall. Here's a look at Peachy going through turn 6. This car has always been a little bit rowdy, a little bit loose. Peachy, I think, mostly comes first from an autocross background, so he's not afraid to drive the car when it needs to be driven in any way it needs to be driven, but also does spectator drags. You may have seen this car on some reels, racing some Teslas and some other well-known YouTubers, I believe. Does some hill climbs, still does some autocross. This car gets a lot of use.
And a lot of different scenarios as well. I think you learn a lot about a car when you put it through its paces, whether it be autocross or on the road course or in time attack competition, real wheel competition, wherever you race it. If you put it in a bunch of different scenarios, you can really learn probably more about the car than if it was only ever a one-trick pony. So it's led to it being a pretty successful car here in GRIDLIFE Track Battle.
Really charging the kink inside the 2 board. Relying on the aero, this car is definitely not one of those massive power cars. It's certainly powerful, but not massively so. Chris Smith, meanwhile, navigating the way through turn 8 into the carousel. Whoa, and a big engine issue, maybe losing something in the engine bay. Lots of smoke under both sides of the car. He sounds like he's still on it. We saw a little bit of smoke on it on his first flying lap. This is significantly more smoke, and he's going to know about that. That's going to be in the interior in addition to coming out from underneath the car. As long as he's not losing any fluid, he might be able to complete this lap, but it mostly seemed to be when he was loaded up, turning left. It was residual coming off of turn 8.
That car has side pipes, and it did look like it was coming out of the exhaust. So we'll see again. Right-hander at Canada. You see it here. Watch it come up the hill.
Yeah, it comes back as soon as he turns left with turn 13. Luckily, turn 14 is a right-hander. So it's going to burn it off again, maybe just losing a little bit of oil onto something hot underneath. I don't agree that it's coming out of the exhaust. It's coming out of forward from there. He makes the lap. No harm, no foul if a little bit of smoke comes out and he makes it back to the paddock. Justin Peachy not able to go any quicker at 2:18.1. Smith, what's he got? 2:20?
Oh.
No, wow, 2:18.7. He resets a personal best on that lap. It's not enough for 4th. But man, what an effort.
Drive it till it blows up, whatever. As long as it's still smoking, Tom, as soon as it stops smoking, that's the problem, right? So to your point, just drive through it, picks up some really good time. It's not enough for 3rd, but it was a great effort there. Peachy with the fist out the window. Checkered flags here for Track Mod. Let's have a look at our Track Mod results here with Alan Patton and Jackie Ding predictably at the very pointy end of the field. But Justin Peachy will score a 3rd place. There's the Thunder Bunny ears for Alan Patton once again this season. And then Chris Smith and Igor Keselov 4th and 5th. And Chris Smith with that personal best. Good effort there. Despite a little drama out of something underneath the car, he'll get it done P4. And with that, one more category in track battle podium sprint. And for race fans still here at Summer Apex at Road America, the Rush Series fan walk will start here in just a couple minutes time as soon as track goes cold here after this session. And we're missing notably Eric Fleming in the Louis Gigliotti built C6 Corvette, the silver car that reset the unlimited class record here earlier this weekend. Very impressive lap times, but they had an engine issue, and Eric is no longer here. He's left and gone home, and unfortunate because they will not get the trophy this weekend, because that's not how this format works. You have to not only be good in the qualifyings, but also in the podium sprint. So this is going to open the door for Mike Dussault to get a win with this 1967 Chevrolet Camaro. And he almost won it last year, but had an issue leading into podium sprint, and he wasn't able to compete.
I was going to say, he needs to all but just complete a lap, basically. If he gets around at anything close to his qualifying pace, he will easily take this one in that 60s Camaro. I'd love to see that it retained the body style on the front, but it's actually a bit of an aero component. They took the headlights out and made it a huge duct to channel the front end down and just a little bit lower where it hits the air, and then left that top bit just to kind of maintain what a Camaro quote unquote should look like. Obviously he gave up on that when he attached all the other wings to it, but hey, why not? It's very cool. And qualified into a 204.5. He was within about 3/10 of Fleming. That's a really, really close margin of victory in the unlimited category, at least in the qualifying rounds. We're also missing Jimmy Rauch in the Civic. Had a mechanical issue yesterday morning, has not returned to the circuit since. So that car had actually qualified third at the 211. It was a really fast front-wheel drive time in that unlimited Civic. So that's just going to be 3 cars left in this session. Mike Dussault, and then Ernestus Pizelis and Andreas Bertulis. Pizelis in the Corvette, Bertulis in the Lexus. And again, these cars all spread out by a pretty significant amount of time. Nearly 10 seconds from the Camaros qualifying to the Corvettes qualifying, and about 4 seconds from the Corvette to the Lexus. It may not be our tightest finishing group, but these are some of the coolest cars to watch make laps, especially Dussault. I really hope we get a good one out of him. Can he even go reset the record potentially?
It's possible. I mean, we saw Alan Patton do it with track mod, so I think the potential is there if you had anything left on the table. And sometimes with these really crazy builds, Tom, running the perfect lap is almost an endless effort. Yep. So I think there's always time on the table. It's rare that, again, these cars don't run lap after lap after lap to where the driver can really dial in. So Dussault uses this car a lot. He's here with us a lot. It ran the Pikes Peak Hill Climb at about a month ago in the hands of Robin Shute in their unlimited category, so it didn't get to run the whole mountain run because they closed off the top 4 high winds. But Mike Dussault on a flyer here at GRIDLIFE Summer Apex.
Watch how Lady brakes just at that access road from about 180 miles an hour. Woes it up good for turn number 1, not using any inside curve, trying to keep the aero platform happy. If it goes airborne, that stalls out everything, changes the balance completely. So you're going to see him be pretty conservative on the track limits, trying to keep that car, the track edge. Stop saying limits. Track edge as he navigates this track. Ernestus Pizelis in the Corvette starting pretty close behind him, but again, about a 10-second difference in their qualifying times. You'll see that Camaro start to pull away if everything goes to plan. Deep on the brakes, a little bit of lockup maybe from the outside front tire, a bit of smoke popping up under the braking zone, but it's gone away. Lots of sparks from the front splitter on the outside, and struggles to put power down just a little bit in these hotter conditions from turn 5.
Yeah, wanted to walk on a bit up the hill there into turn 6, but again, he just got a squeeze on the power. He should comfortably defeat everybody else in this category, so he doesn't have to run super fast, Tom, and I think that's another consideration is don't throw it away. You got a trophy. I don't want to say it's an easy trophy because we all know how much effort this takes, not only to drive the lap but to build the car. But when you're that far ahead of everyone else in the seating, you just got to get a decent lap in, and then you can go for gold, turn up the boost and rip it.
Or you may even realize, you go in with a really big intentions and you realize the track's not there. You can kind of back it down, and unfortunately this car did have a pretty good plunk off the wall at Laguna Seca last year, so he definitely doesn't want to go through that again. Late on the brakes into the King. Watch how planted the car is through there. No drama at all. I do agree this doesn't look like the biggest push lap from Mike Dussault. He might have adjusted slightly, but it could also be one of those sneaky fast ones coming down into Canada corner.
He's been pretty consistently running 205s, 206s all weekend long. His best was a 204.4, I believe, earlier in the weekend, about 2/10 behind Eric Fleming, which is a really tight battle for the track record here. But here comes Dussault into turn 14, Tom, and it'll throttle up over 1,000 horsepower put to the ground. We'll see what he can do. Climbing up past the pit in. Mike Dussault looking for a trophy. Felt like he might have been owed one from last year after having that mechanical issue. Knew that the car was capable. across the stripe, and it's a 2:08.788. It's not anywhere near the fastest he's gone, but it should be comfortably ahead of Puzelis and Bertulis. And the other cars that were seated for this were Jim Rock and Eric Fleming. So obviously those two cars, as you pointed out, will not be here. So it's just these three. And Puzelis at 2:15.195. That's not a bad lap for Puzelis, actually.
No, it's within 2 seconds of his qualifying time, and it's in general we're seeing people be about that far off. So a well-executed run there. The Lexus of Bertulis comes through at a 2:21.9. Both of these cars tend to do every lap of every session, so we'll probably see them both take both of these last 2 laps. Interestingly enough, if Dussault doesn't do another attempt, Alan Patton from TrackMod would actually be the fastest car in Podium Sprint by just basically nothing, but about a tenth. Yeah. Is he going to go off left?
Yeah, I
think
he's
pitting in. Yeah. Dussault's done.
Dussault is done, and he doesn't need to go any quicker, so that'll be a really solid lap, 2:08.7 for Dussault. Now, Puzelis and Bertulis, this is why this battle is important. 2:15.1 for Puzelis, 2:21.95 for Bertulis. I don't think Bertulis is going to go faster than Puzelis. He hasn't yet touched it this weekend. But in the championship battle, points conversation here, Puzelis is 2 points behind Bertulis. They're running second and third right now in class. With Puzelis' advantage, that's a 3-point differential in the scoring. That would put Puzelis on top of Bertulis in the championship standings by 1 point going into the next round. So again, another championship battle that's going to be real hot for the rest of the season.
It'll feel good to come out with 1 position gained of the event, regardless if you finish second in the event itself. That little bit of a leapfrog. Puzelis in this much more mild than most unlimited time attack car, but still a really rad Corvette. Down towards Canada corner. Heavy on the brakes just at that final little bend about the foreboard, relying on some anti-lock brakes to get the car stopped, running some slick tires. All these cars in Unlimited are the first and only cars you've watched in the last hour allowed to run full racing slicks with no restrictions on the tires they're allowed to choose. Mike Dussault typically running a really aggressive Michelin race slick that's offered in a bunch of compounds. I think Puzelis and Bertulis both on a Pirelli variant, probably more similar to what you'd see in a GT3 car when you watch racing like that. Green flag waving for the 3rd lap, finishing the 2nd lap for Ernestus Puzelis. Can he improve on a 2:15? Yes, he does. A 2:13.8. That's a really good effort, and only half second slower than his qualifying time. He's going to go for one more run at it. Here comes Bertulis.
Bertulis up the hill in the Lexus. His best was, I think, in the 2:20s, so we'll see if he can pip that here. And for Bertulis, it is a green lap, 2:20.045. There he goes. Tom, is that better than his best?
No, he's standing on a 19.9, so he's really close.
Very, very close.
Basically a tie. Ooh, big understeer through the first corner. Gets it in there a little bit hot. You can hear the left front protesting, telling him, nope, nope, it's not going to do that. You got to slow down a little bit more. He's going to adjust for turn number 3. Roll that big Lexus in. Great sounding car as well. Ernestus Puzelis, meanwhile, a couple of straights ahead.
Yeah, into turn 6. Again, I don't think he's going to get a whole lot more out of it in this session. Within 5 seconds to Dussault, though, that's impressive no matter the racetrack. Great sound out of that Corvette, too.
When I mentioned the top 2 seeds, of course, Fleming not competing in the podium sprint, but only 0.3 of a second separating our top 2 cars in Unlimited. That's a pretty unheard of margin in Unlimited because of things like this. There's so much potential in the car. There's so much potential to build, and then they're so difficult to drive. It's hard to put into words what it's like to drive one of these Unlimited class cars. I've been fortunate to drive an all-wheel drive Evo that's pretty competitive, or at least was over the years when I was driving it, and it's one of those things where you're salvaging mistakes as much as you are attacking the course. You're really trying to just not make any big mistakes and see what comes to you until maybe 3, 4, 5 sessions into the weekend, if the car even makes it that long. It's a pretty wild approach to motorsports in general, and that's why I think it gets so addicting for people. But again, Dussault to Puzelis, that 5-second gap, that's a little bit closer to what we would sometimes see more often here in the Unlimited category because of those circumstances. Puzelis running nicely through turn 13 into turn 14. A little bit of a delay on the weight transfer in there, trying to get a late turn in and an approach to get on throttle early up the hill under that pedestrian bridge for the final time. Checkered flag waves for our final podium sprint session. Ernestus Puzelis, can he go faster than a 2:13? He does. He picks up another 4/10, barely missing out on his new PB for the weekend, a 13.4.
Yeah, nicely done. Andreas Bertulis will be the final finisher here, looking for a third place trophy in track battle podium sprint here at Road America GridLife Summer Apex. The last runner in the podium sprint up and over the top of the crest. Mike Dussault is going to win Unlimited. Ernestus Pazelis finishes second, and Andreas Bertulis across the line is not going to pick up. He'll stay at a 220.045. Let's have a look at our results for the Unlimited class here as Mike Dussault is out. Congratulations to Mike. 208.788, 213.433, 220.045. Mike, Ernestus, Andreas.
You know the safety worker from Road America is asking all sorts of questions about that car. Mike is so happy to talk about it. Really nice guy, too.
Let's have a look here at the highlights from our GridLife Track Battle Podium Sprint. And honestly, I think there were a couple upsets, but for the most part, Tom, we saw a lot of what we were anticipating, starting with our Club SC category. It was Mike Jansen that came in as the top seed there. And with Sam Dooling showing up for the podium sprint fairly late, only had a couple of laps. We thought he might be able to upset, but he wasn't able to do that. But as the festival grounds clear up here, all the fans that were left have an opportunity to go see the grid walk here. Here's Mike Jansen in the Club SC category. Again, a little bit of a lockup there on the second lap. He was pushing hard, but found enough time to keep Sam Dooling behind him. And we got to the Falcon Club TR class. It was Mario Baroni that came in as the top seed, Tom, but he was unable to keep it with Peter Granberg jumping to the top and Stan Feingold there jumping up into the mix as well. Yeah,
one of the few upsets we saw in street came out as we expected, but these cars all introducing us to the strategy that became the norm. One hot lap, one down lap, one hot lap again. The winner there, Brad Moore taking the win there in his Porsche Cayman. Now a beautiful lap from Luke McGrew. I think one of the highlights, that in-car video is going to be fantastic, taking the win in Street GT. Drama for Jamie Santos. He had a hell of a weekend, but he's going to barely keep the car on track. Out of Street Mod, let's talk about the guy who won, Dewey DeWitt, taking the win in his Subaru in the Street Mod podium sprint. Then moving on to Track Mod, we had the fastest car of the afternoon, Alan Patton taking the win there. Big rock through the carousel, but overall a really, really nicely executed lap in that rowdy Corvette.
And up over the crest here, he was able to not only go to the top of Track Mod, but also reset the record again. Mike Dussault wins in Unlimited with a pretty wild lap at 2:08. That's all he could muster, all he needed to muster, and regains a win that he was probably owed last year. And some news, the Club SC lap that was deleted for Jack Hoffman, Tom, video review, lap reinstated. He gets third place with the trophy. And that's going to do it for the GridLife Track Battle Podium Sprint here at Summer Apex. More coverage from GridLife Live coming after lunch.